beautiful people, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Patrice, and today we're doing something a bit different. We're doing a book review, and you're probably thinking, Patrice, book? Yes, I actually love to read. My first video ever on YouTube was a book review. I had a book review channel, but nobody was watching it, so yeah. But I am back into reading, and I figure I would share with you guys since nobody in my house cares about what I read. So I got back into reading. I started reading memoirs, and memoirs stressed me out. I read Viola Davis's memoir, and I have been traumatized ever since. If you are planning on reading it, just make sure that it's not like domestic violence or things like that. Don't trigger you. Abuse doesn't trigger you. If not, that's not the book for you. I have not been able to pick up a memoir since. Not that those things happened to me and this is why it's triggering. It was just a book where you sympathize with her so much. It was so hard to get through that book, and at the end of it, people, I hate our father. Yeah. Viola Davis's father, don't like him. So that's that. So I'm back to reading fiction. I'm back to reading fiction, and I'm back to reading my mysteries and thrillers. That's my thing. So today we're going to talk about The Paris Apartment. If you're into books, even if you're not into books, watch the video. All right. There will be spoilers. If you plan on reading this book, shut off of this video, read the book, and come back. All right. Now, this is a book by Lucy Foley. This is her, I don't know, but this is her third book I'm reading from her. So I started with The Hunting Party, which was a lot, okay? It was the first time I ever read an author with this writing style where there's a lot of moving parts, there are a lot of characters, and they somehow become intertwined, and she gave backstory and all the story and all the things. Yes. So that was my first time reading it, and I had the hard copy of the book, and it was a bit hard to keep up. So then I actually like The Hunting Party, so I decided to do The Guest List, which is the next one I read from this author, and I did audiobooks. So much better. Every character had a different voice, and it was easier for me to follow along. So now I came to the third book, which is The Paris Apartment, and baby, when I tell you this is Lucy Foley's best work. Girl, Lucy, give us a round of applause. No, I've read some reviews, and people are like, oh, I figured it out by the end. I don't believe y'all. Girl, when I told you my jaw was to the floor by the end of the book. All right, so let's get into the review. All right. Now, this story for the most part starts out with Jess. Now, Jess is a 24-year-old who lived in England. All right, so don't beat me if some of the thoughts are jumping in my head, right? And she lost her job, and she was going through a hard time, and she lost her job, you know, little sketchy circumstances. So she hit up her brother, Ben, who was living in Paris, right? So they were both orphans, I believe. Ben got adopted by a wealthy family, so he had a different life. And then Jess grew up in foster care, so her life was a little bit different, right? So Jess called the brother and be like, hey, can I come kick it with you? Because I ain't got no job, I ain't got nowhere to live. And he was like, he didn't say no, but he wasn't too happy for her to come, you know what I'm saying? Because I guess they haven't seen each other in a long time. Whatever. So he's like, okay, bet I'll be waiting on you. So she followed, right? She come on over to Paris, and she cannot find Ben. Ben is nowhere to be found. So she, in the middle of the night, jumped through a window in Ben's apartment just to find there is no Ben. Not a Ben in sight. Now, she started snooping around and realized that something is fishy. Something has gone awry. And she started to worry about her brother, and she started to poke around. All right. No, this book have a whole bunch of characters in there that makes sense. Okay. Yes. And the Paris Apartment itself, there's something about it. It's nice and majestic, and it makes you look rich, and all the families have different apartments on each floor. It's a whole family building. They have a courtyard. There's this one lady that she's like the gatekeeper or the courtyard keeper. She just kind of are the concierge. She sits out in the front, let people in and out and all the things. All right. No. Let me give you a little bit more backstory on the characters, all right? So we got Ben Daniels, right? He's a Cambridge-educated investigative journalist, okay? So he hit up one of his friend named Nick that they went to Cambridge together, and Nick is like, I'll hit you, I'll hook you up with an apartment in Paris. So that's how Ben ended up in the Paris apartment, all right? Then there's Jess that I told you about. She is the 24-year-old half-sister of Ben. All right? Then we got Sophie Munir. I think that's how you pronounce it. She's a 54-year-old mother, right? And she's married to a wealthy wine seller, Mr. Munir. Okay? Him, you don't hear too much about him in the story, but him in there, right? So that is Sophie. Then you got Mimi. Mimi is Sophie's daughter. She is at maybe about 19-year-old, right? And she lives in another apartment with one of her friends named Camille. No, Camille is a little hot girl. She is very flamboyant all over the place. Yes, so that is Camille, right? Then you got Nick. Nick, I'm telling you, went to school with Ben, and that is how Ben ended up in the apartment, because Nick and family own the apartment. All right, stay with me. Then we got Antoine. Antoine is Nick's older brother, but he is a drunk. He's an alcoholic, right? Very violent. And then he has a wife, but the wife left him, okay? To be fair, the wife left him for Camille. So Camille, the whole situation, people mix up, right? And then there's a concierge, right? She's an elderly woman that takes care of the place. She knows everybody's secrets and all the things. And part of it, you're wondering, like, how she dropped it, but she's a part of the story, all right? So now that we got, with everybody, let us get into the story, okay? So as I told you, Ben was supposed to meet Jess. So Jess came, didn't find her brother, jumped through a window in the middle of the night, empty apartment. Nobody don't know which part Ben gone. So she started asking around and snooping around, trying to find her brother. Nobody don't know nothing, okay? Fishy, right? So then we get to learn about Mimi. Now Mimi, she's very mentally unstable, right? She's a little young teen, but very unstable. But she, in her mind, developed a whole relationship with Ben. In her head, Ben is her husband, fair man. And from her apartment, she can watch Ben. She can see Ben. So this girl made up a whole relationship in her head about Ben. All right? So that is that. Then now, Sophie Munir, let's call her Sophie, who is Mimi's mother, right? She ended up having an affair with Ben, right? Girl. Mimi's husband is away on a trip. He's away a lot, okay? Because he's as a wine seller, wine person, okay? He's away a lot, and Mimi has aged, and he's now into young girls or whatever, and not paying Sophie any mind. So Sophie go and hook up with the new guy in the apartment, Ben, because apparently Ben fine, okay? Ben, I feel like I need a tree and arrows to link people. But Sophie, she went and she had a whole affair with Benjamin, okay? No, Nick and Antoine are brothers, right? But they are not Sophie's sons, right? Sophie is married to their father, but they are not Sophie's son, all right? They're from a previous relationship, so that Sophie is them stepmother, but not really old enough to be their mother. But then I thought Mimi was Sophie's biological daughter, but it turns out, no, she is a little adopted daughter, but the adoption was a little bit iffy because Sophie could not bear children. People, this story is very, very mixed up. No, the reason why Nick invited Ben to come live at the apartment, he was in love with Ben from Cambridge days, okay? And they had a little thing going on. He was there thinking maybe, just maybe, he could rekindle a little thing with Ben, and, people mix up, all right? So, Ben moved in, right? And he started to investigate because he was wondering, okay, yes, your family has a history of selling wine and all the things, but how y'all making this money to live this kind of life, so on and so forth and all the things. So he started to snoop, okay? No, because he was snooping, he found out a few things, okay? No, Nick and Antoine realized that he was snooping too much, also with the father, and the business is kind of sketchy, and Ben was getting too close to the truth, okay? So what had happened was Ben got attacked in his apartment. Okay? And that is how Ben ended up missing. So we at the front of the story is presuming Ben to be dead. Because in a part of the story it says Antoine and Nick, Sophie told them to come remove this rug from this apartment. The rug had a body in it, then buried it out in the courtyard, a whole bunch of things. So we're presuming Benjamin gone. Okay? Now, in the middle of that, Antoine's wife left him. Okay? She left him for a girl named Camille, which was in Mimi's apartment, Mimi's roommate, right? So that is where we're at there. Now, Antoine is drunk and all the things, and everything was going awry, but the father was away. So Sophie keep on talking to the father on the phone and updating him on what's going on and all the things, okay? No, I don't want to make this too long, okay? So while Jess is investigating, still trying to find our brother, she found out that Nick's last name is Miller. So that means, say, he is related to the people that own all of these things, right? Ben also found out that the family business is not really selling wine and liquor. It is a little gentleman's club. So it's a little secret club that has women and things and girls there. So people come in under the guise of you're going to the bar, you're going to drink or whatever, but you have a little code and you go down and you get yourself a girl, okay? No. Father Munir, right? He had one of the girls there, right? And he ended up knocking her up. But then he was hiding it and she ended up dying in childbirth. So that's how Mimi came about, and that's how he didn't want anybody to find out. So Sophie adopted Mimi and says her child. Now you're wondering where the concierge come in. The concierge, the mother that died, which is Mimi's biological mother, is the daughter of the concierge. And she came to Paris to find her daughter because her daughter was supposed to come here and make life but fell on some times, right? So she found out her daughter died and that the daughter had a baby and the baby is Mimi. So she got the job here so she could keep an eye on Mimi. Whoo, child. I hope y'all are keeping up. All right? So, one night, the father realized that Ben had uncovered the family secret and I was about to blow the lid on the things. So he now went and attacked Ben in the apartment. Okay? Big fight, people, stab up on a bag of things go on. Right? Mimi saw all of what is going on from her bedroom window because, as I told you, Mimi have a whole relationship in her head, spine on demand. Okay? No, Mimi ran over there and don't know what happened. This is where that scene cut, right? So, back to Jess. Jess is coming now and she starts to dig and spy, and she found like there were secret rooms and attics and different things in this little apartment, this little place. And she started to dig and she find out that, you know, the relationships and all of the things. So one night now, people, the family decided they're going to attack Jess. So Jess is running for her life, people. Running for her life. So she make it all the way up to the top floor, up where the attic is, I believe, right? She bust down a door, run in one place, and while she was in there hiding, I guess she feel around or hear some noise, and people, guess who was it? Ben. Her brother that she has been looking for many a moons. So she's like, oh my God, Ben. Ben is half dead because, as I told you, Ben and the father was fighting and get some stab up on some things. So Ben is there half dead. So now Ben, Nick and Antoine and Sophie, who were chasing down Jess to kill her, went up to the attic and found Jess. But it's crazy because guess what, people? When Nick and Antoine bust down the door and came in and saw Jess and half dead Ben, they were like, well, wait a minute. So if Ben is here still alive, who did we bury in the courtyard? People, this is where, I'm telling you, this is where it happened for me. I was like this. What in the world? People, the body that was buried in the front yard or in the courtyard is the father, Mr. Munir. So when he was, I attacking Ben, Mimi saw run out of her apartment into the apartment, and because she's mentally unstable and the father is about to kill her husband in her head, she attacked her papi and killed him. She came to her senses, went to tell Miss Sophie, right, which is her mother, and the mother decides, listen, my baby girl cannot go to jail. Plus, remember that Sophie was knocking boots with Ben, so she loved off Ben, and she did not want Ben to get in any trouble either. Not that he would, because he didn't do anything, the dad attacked him. So she wrapped up her husband, Mr. Bonnier, in the rug, cleaned up the apartment, went and called Nick and Antoine, who are his sons, to help her move the body and bury it. But she told them that the body in the thing was Ben, and then she moved Ben to the attic, and every day she was going up there to feed Ben so that he didn't die. But she can't have Ben go to the hospital because that would blow the whole lid on the whole situation. People, when I tell you this book mix up, and I love it. So people, the story busted wide open that the father is the one that's dead, even though throughout the entire book Sophie was pretending to be speaking to this man. You see, oh, Uban evil. She was pretending to be speaking and communicating with the husband, all the while the husband is dead and in the courtyard buried. Okay? So that is it. Jess found our brother half dead. He went to the hospital and be healing or whatever. Then Antoine and Nick, I don't know. Sophie doesn't have a husband, neither nor does she have a side man anymore because Ben gone. And then there's the concierge. So what happened is that Sophie moved Mimi to the south of France, you know, for her to go start a whole new life and all the things. So the concierge, who is the grandma, follow back at Mimi gone to the south of France and to keep an eye on her grandbaby. Listen, the book was a roller coaster of emotions. One thing I can tell you is that with Lucy Foley's writing, you will hate every single character in the book. There was nobody in the book that I liked. No, you can say that you might like Jess because, you know, she was looking for her brother, so on and so forth. But when you get Jess's backstory as well, it's kind of like, it's hard to like her. Ben, even though he was a victim, his backstory as well, you don't like him either. Nick, him have a whole backstory as well too. So it's just backstory after backstory where Lucy, even in the guest list, that one right there, you will hate everybody as well. Everybody has and which is what I like too. Like, you don't have to like everybody, right? But this is not for everybody. I'm going to tell you that. No, with the guest list took place in like one area, one thing. It was like in one day. Everything happened pretty much. The hunting party, similar vibes. But this one, when it comes to the Paris apartment, I like that it was in different places. Even though most of it was in Paris, there were apartment scenes, they were out of the apartment, things of that nature. You get, like a balance, right? But all in all, I love this book, Gone to Bed. If you read this book, let me know, because the ending got me. I did not predict that ending. People said they did. I did not. I did not see it coming, but very good. So I'm going to read another Lucy Foley book, and I will let y'all know how that one goes. Now, I did read my first Riley Sager book, and let me tell you, Riley Sager, you had a good plot going, but the ending, bruh. But that is another story for another day, alright? I will see you in the next video. Toodles.